back to the Iron Perspective. I am your host, JD Denham, and I am excited to be here. I hope you're excited to be here too. So, oh man, I have a good show today, to say the least. I'm excited to talk about it. I want to first just say thank you for all the people that are starting to listen in on the show. I have got so much constructive feedback and good feedback. Seems like people are enjoying it and the numbers are growing. Shout out to each of you. I'm super blessed and just blown away and super stoked that people are enjoying it. So today, what I want to talk about, man, this is a good one. Anybody that has been following my channels in any form will hear me say a lot of the same things, lessons that have been so powerful in my life. And I love to take them and talk about them and kind of pass them back. I've talked about it numerous times on this podcast, but one of my favorite quotes is, great men help other men succeed. Right? Great men help other men succeed. We are not here for ourselves. We are here to fix ourselves and turn around and help other people fix themselves. That's the gold mine, and that is a purpose. I love that saying. But another one I like to say is, we are the sum total of the 5 people that we hang out with the most, right? We are truly the sum total of the 5 people that we hang out with the most. If you're not hanging out with men or women who are pushing you to grow, to be better, to think bigger, you're hanging out with the wrong people. If you're hanging out with men who are just content with no type of growth, just content with just eating what they want and doing what they want and drinking what they want and going out on the weekends and blowing all their money, I'm going to be honest with you, man, you're doing it wrong. They're doing it wrong. So we need to surround ourselves with the right people. The first story that I would like to talk to you about is, I always like to talk about my sobriety. I am always going to look at my life before January 18, 2011 backwards, before I got sober, and January 18, 2011 forward, because that's when I became a changed man and my life radically changed. So on that day is when I got sober and I started the journey to become the best version of myself. It was going to be a long journey, but that's when I started it. Now, at first, anybody that has any type of sobriety, has conquered any type of addiction, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It could be eating. It could be anything, pornography, whatever. Our problems as humans manifest in all kinds of ways. For me, it was drugs and alcohol. And I started to conquer those demons. Now, at first, I'm not going to lie, I truly believed that all I had to do was get sober and all my problems would just fade away. I thought all my problems, all my issues in my life stemmed from drugs and alcohol. If I could conquer those, it would be golden streets and I would be just singing Christmas carols and donuts and ice cream. Life would be perfect. And when I got sober, I realized that was not the case. But God will take you on a journey and he will let you walk through some fires so that it molds you into who you are supposed to be. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. So when I first got sober, my focus was focusing on my sobriety. I was going to literally 2 meetings a day, and I did that for at least a year, at least probably more, probably up to 2 years plus. I did it for a very long time. Now I'm going to be honest with you. One of the meetings was for me. It was a stag meeting, and it was a meeting that I really got a lot of sobriety out. And the meeting number 2 of the day would be because I was chasing women. And I don't say that proudly. I say that honestly. I was womanizing in the beginning of my sobriety, not even knowing it. Now, I was truly chasing sobriety. I really was. I was putting my all into becoming a sober man. I respected my sponsor. I wanted what he had, and I was willing to do whatever he said to do to get sober. And I really did listen to his advice for a very long time. Now, women were a little bit of a different story. Now, I was trying to be a man of integrity. And I'll be honest, early on in my sobriety, for the first good year or so, I didn't feel guilty the way that I was handling the women's side of it, meaning I was being honest with them. I was letting them know, listen, I would be more on the lines of, hey, listen, I'm not looking for anything. And if you're not looking for anything, maybe we can not look for anything at my house, kind of just doing that type of thing and just really kind of rolling through women and, thinking because I was being honest with them that I didn't want anything from them except for a sexual relationship, that I was being a man of integrity. And I know I was wrong. At this point in hindsight, it's easy to say that. At that time, I did not feel guilty. But there were a couple things right at the right time that I believe God was speaking to me, and when I started to change that. So what do I mean by that? So I was hooking up with a lot of women. And there was two little instances that changed the trajectory of that, and in my opinion on that, right about the same time, right around the time about a year sober or not, something around that time. And this gal that I was hooking up with, sweet gal, I really enjoyed her. She was such a nice woman. I wasn't looking for any type of relationship with her, but I enjoyed spending time with her, you know. And one night I called her up and said, hey, why don't you come over? You know, just trying to get her over like always and thinking that was going to be cool. And she said to me, she said, I'm not coming over. And I remember thinking, like, why? I don't understand why. She said, every time that I leave your house, I feel like shit. And I feel bad about myself, and you make me feel bad about myself. And I wasn't expecting her to say that. And to be honest with you, I truly had no idea that she felt like that. I really didn't. So I really started to think about that. Wow, I didn't even know that she, you know, I didn't care for her in any type of relationship way, but I cared about her because she was a sweet gal and I really thought she was a good human. It bummed me out that she was bummed that I was hurting her. And right around that same time, I was talking to my sister. And my sister and I were talking about this womanizing type deal, and she was telling me, she calls me Jonathan, my proper name. She says, Jonathan, women can't just sleep with men like men can. They leave a little piece of themselves with a man when they sleep with him, and you might not have a problem with it, but you are hurting them, and you need to think on that. And so those two things happened right at the same time. And they really festered. I really started thinking of them, and I really caught up to the perspective at that time. For the first year of my sobriety, God was bringing me through my sobriety. He was helping me build the foundation of a sober man. Now I had that to a degree. I was ahead of that curve. I was really chasing sobriety, and that was the path I was on. Now it was time to fix the other parts of myself, which was this womanizer and guy doing things that I was hurting other people. I was not being a man of integrity. I was hurting women, and it was time to fix that. So what I did was I swore off women for a good year or so. Literally, I spent a lot of time with myself. I spent a lot of time really thinking of what I even wanted in a relationship. I had never done any of that deep thinking. I never even thought about it. You know, what did I want in a woman in particular? And I wrote these things down. I wrote down the things that I wanted. I wanted her to be beautiful, right? I'm not going to lie. I wanted her to be beautiful. I wanted her to be kind. I wanted her to have a tenderness, and just, I could go on and on. These were the things that I wanted in a woman. I wrote them down, and I stayed away from women for a long time. Now, I had met the woman that would become my wife early on in my sobriety. She jumped out of this car one day. It was at an AA meeting, and I think that I had maybe like 2 months sober, and she jumped out of a car with about 5 other gals, and she was the only one I noticed. I was very attracted to her. Now, the reason I'm saying that is, if I would have met her or hooked up with her in the beginning, I would have ran right through her like all the other ones, and she would have just been another woman, you know. But God knows what he's doing, and he knew that was going to be the girl that would turn into my bride. So I had not talked to a woman for a year. I remembered meeting my soon-to-be wife at that meeting, 2 months, or when I was 2 months sober, and I hadn't talked to her for a long time. Now I had taken a year away from women, and I'd really started to repair that side of myself. And I was at the gym one day, and I was on the treadmill, and I saw her walk behind me. And I remember looking, I think that was that one gal. So I hit her up, hadn't talked to her in a long time. And and we started talking, and we went on a date that night. And here's the thing. I have not been separated from her for basically at all since that time. God put the right woman in my life at the right time, and that was just the way that it worked. I spent the time trying to fix myself, and I truly stepped away from women, and God decided to bless me after I fixed that side of myself, and that would be my wife. Now, That's story number one. When we really work on ourselves and put the time in to fix ourselves, God will put his hand on it. He will put his hand on it. When it's organic, when it's pure, he will bless it. And God has shown me that over and over again. Anybody that knows my wife knows who she is, knows how madly I am in love with her, and vice versa. We have an amazing relationship, and everything that I wrote down, she fulfilled. God put the right person in my life at the right time. Now, number two, what I want to talk about is, I decided to marry this gal. My wife and I get married. We have an amazing relationship. But after 6 months after we got married, it had become very apparent to me that my wife was relapsing. And at this point, this was years down the road, I was running a mortgage company and I was spending a lot of time there. And I had to take a little time to figure out, is she relapsing? Is this what's really going on? And when the jury was back, it was brutal. I watched my wife go from this kind human and just really do a nosedive very quickly into that sea of self-destruction. And in 2 months, she just was a mess. I was pissed. I was angry. I felt cheated, not cheated on, just cheated because I didn't want drugs and alcohol in my house. I didn't want that stuff around me, and I was pissed. So what I did was I sent her to rehab. She was hiding alcohol in the house. First it was alcohol. I was finding alcohol in her purse. And when you're in an active addiction, she would be like, it's not mine. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? It's not yours. We just started to, for the first time, now I was on the other side of the spectrum. Now I'm not the one that's a mess lying to people. Now I'm the one being lied to. And I really got a visual of some of the things that I did towards other people for those years when I was in active drug addiction. And in 2 months, man, our relationship was having a really, really rough time. So I was able to get her into rehab. I remember the day when the car came and picked her up. I was just frazzled to the core of my being. I just was, whoa, things were crazy. And I walked her out. I put her in this car, and this car drove down the street and took my wife away to rehab. And I was so just physically, mentally shaken up by the experience that I had just experienced with her. And I remember sitting on the curb and just overwhelmed with life at that particular time. I was pissed. I was angry at her. I didn't want anything to do with her, and I needed space from her. Now, luckily, the rehab that I got her in could see that I was very upset, and they kept her away from me. They didn't let her call me, and they kept her away from me. Now, like I said, was running a mortgage company at the time. I'm a faithful man. I don't cheat. I don't talk to other women. I don't flirt with other women. But now I am vulnerable. I'm angry and I'm vulnerable. And, there had been a gal at my mortgage company that would flirt with me. And for the longest time, those flirts never were returned. Now I'm pissed. I feel like the victim. How could she do this to me? We just got married. Me, poor me, poor me, poor me. And so those flirts now were starting to be returned. I was returning those flirts, and soon those flirts turned into text messages, and those text messages became bantering back and forth. And it became very, very clear that there was a probability that I might be tiptoeing around cheating on my wife. Now, here's the point of how important it is to surround yourself with the right people. I'm getting to the point of this podcast. So I remember the night that I was about to cheat on my wife. I was texting this gal. We were setting up the time where we were going to meet, and this was about to go down. The whole trajectory of my life could have changed that night. Now, I remember it perfectly. I was sitting at my counter. I literally had divorce papers on that counter for 3 months. And this day I was sitting on the counter and I looked down and my phone was ringing, and it was a very good friend of mine. Now, not just a friend, a guy that I would call my brother. Now, he is sober too. He's a sober man as well. And I wasn't even going to get it. I wasn't even going to get the call. I looked at it, thought about it. I ended up picking up the phone. I said, what's up, man? And he said, JD, how are you? I said, I'm pissed, man. I'm angry. My wife was hiding drugs in my house. She was lying to me about drugs and alcohol. I'm not doing that well, if you want my honest opinion. And he said, well, how is your wife? And I said, I don't know, man. I haven't talked to her. I don't really care. If you want the honest truth, he could hear in my voice that I was pretty pissed off. And he said, well, let me ask you a question, man. What are you going to do? And I thought about it. He's a good friend of mine and a man I am very honest with. And so I decided to tell him the truth. I said, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do about it, man. I'm gonna head over to this gal's house tonight and I'm going to do whatever happens tonight. And that's just the way it is, man. I was pissed, I was angry, and I meant it. And there was a pause on the phone. He said, yeah, man, you could do that. He said, or what you could do is you could be the man that I have watched you grow into, which is a man of integrity and a man of character. And you could choose to be your rock for your bride to lean upon in her weakest hour. Whoa, was I penetrated by those words. Man, I just had not caught up to that perspective. He said, let me ask you a question, JD. When you were doing drugs, did you ever lie to anybody? And just blindsided by something that should have been so easy for me, a perspective that should have been so easy for me to catch up to on my own because of my vulnerabilities, because of falling back into a weaker mindset of poor me. How could she do this to me? Me. I couldn't catch up to the perspective on my own. I needed men around me who were going to speak truth into me at my weakest hour. And he shined the light on the perspective that was sitting right in front of my face, but I just chose not to see it, or for whatever reason didn't see it. And as soon as he said those words, he was right. He was right. When I got married to my wife, I said, till death do us part, in sickness and in health. And I was not living up to that vow. And right then and there, I changed it. I caught up to it. I was wrong. I admitted I was wrong. And from that second on, I started to support my bride. I reached out to the rehab. They wanted me to go to this Thursday night meeting that was like kind of an Al-Anon meeting, kind of a slash meeting. And now I didn't want to go, but I started to go to those meetings on Thursday. And the experience was amazing. It was mainly parents that had sent their kids to this rehab, and they were hurting. They were going through a lot. And I had a unique experience. I was a drug addict that was, numerous years sober. And I was also a man that had a wife that was in rehab. I had both sides of the perspective, and I was able to bring a lot to that meeting and really help some parents see the perspective of a drug addict's mind. And that was an amazing experience. Now, another part of that story is one of my favorite parts, because when my wife got out of rehab, she was chasing sobriety now hard. She was a different person. She did 90 days in rehab, and she started going to this Monday night meeting, and she became the secretary of the meeting. And I started to go to that meeting. It was a co-ed meeting, and I started to go to that meeting to support her and just kind of, be there for her. And it was an amazing meeting. I actually fell in love with that meeting. It became one of my favorite meetings. And I met all the guys who are now my best friends at that meeting. And that's how God will move certain things out of the way, and he will bring different people in your life. So a gentleman at that meeting asked me to sponsor him, and he was 3 years sober. He had time sober, but he asked me to sponsor him and take him to the steps. And I remember thinking, well, he's 3 years sober. Like, when am I going to even offer this guy? I don't even know. I think I had 5 or 6 years. I don't remember. I said, okay, yeah, man, let's do that. So we started the step work at my house at 6:00 on a Wednesday night. And when I started reading the book of Alcoholics Anonymous with this gentleman, we had amazing conversation. He shared the passion for sobriety that I did. Like I said, he had 3 years sober, so he had some time, and the conversations that yielded from sitting down and doing step work with him were amazing. We both were getting a lot out of it. Now, what we did is I said, hey, listen, man, why don't we meet at my house every day or every Wednesday at 6:00, and let's read this book cover to cover. Let's just read it from cover to cover, man, and have rad conversations. He said, amen, let's do it. So we did. We started meeting at my house every Wednesday at 6 p.m. We started reading the book. And then another guy came. And then another guy came. And then another guy came. And now we have 6 guys in my living room, and we're reading the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, generally only getting through about a page because just rad conversations were coming out of this group of men talking about sobriety and certain things about it. Now, COVID hits. Boom, COVID hits, and there were no meetings to be found. Everything was shut down, and I decided to keep that open. Whoever wanted to come. Whoever didn't, whatever. And that meeting of 5, 6, 7 men grew to 30 plus men every Wednesday at my house at 6 p.m. And what had stemmed from that meeting was just a group chasing growth together. We moving into a church, and 70 men started coming to that meeting. So what is the point of that story if you haven't caught up to it yet? First off, God knows what he's doing. God will allow you to fall. He will allow someone in your life to fall, and he will allow you to break down again and completely change the trajectory of your life and push you in the right direction. My wife falling had changed the entire trajectory of my own life. It relit a fire in my own sobriety. And to this day, all these things happen in such a chronological order, and it all stemmed from one decision that would have changed my life forever. My life would be radically different, regardless of if we stayed together or not. Who knows? We'll never know. It doesn't matter, because I did pick up that phone, and I surrounded myself with men of integrity, men of character, men that are going to speak life into me when my weakest hours are there. Now, on the flip side of that, I do my best to offer the same. If somebody calls me and needs advice, I give them straightforward advice. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't fluff it. If you're a true friend, you're going to tell people the truth. Somebody that truly cares about you is, and that's what true friends deserve. So, man, that's the story tonight. Again, if I didn't surround myself with the right people that night, my whole trajectory of my life would be radically different. My 2 boys are now 10 months old and 3 years old, and they came after that experience. So if I would have cheated on my wife that night, they might not even be here. God knows what he is doing, and God wants you to put the right people in your life. You need to surround yourself with the right people, right? We're the sum total of the 5 people that we hang out with the most. Another one I like is show me your friends and I'll show you your future. So that is the stories that I got for you today. I hope that hits home. Maybe some other people have some experience. Anybody with any type of sobriety will have any type of those stories, because if you chase growth, if you try to better yourself, if you honor God by how you live your life, God will show up and he will put his hand on your life, man. It's shown me over and over and over. I got numerous stories just like that, man. So that's the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember this, you're a warrior. Act like one. That's all I got.